Hello, everyone, and welcome to 1v1 with Boss Rush Games. I'm your host, Celeste Roberts of Nintendo Pow Block and another Zelda podcast. Today, I have the pleasure of interviewing Aaron Grubb, a Zelda fan, photographer, and musician. And currently, as many of you may already know, Aaron is working on his album of Zelda cover songs. Welcome, Aaron. Thank you for joining me today.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Oh my goodness, your shirt is awesome. Do you want to show people what your shirt is? If you're on YouTube, guys, or if you're not on YouTube right now, you should go to our YouTube channel because his shirt is so cool.
Yeah, it's the Great Wave. It's that Japanese painting with somebody put Wind Waker Link over here with the boat. It's pretty awesome.
I love it.
It's hard to find too.
I love seeing people blend different media and fame into famous paintings like that.
Yeah.
It's really clever. Well, how are you doing, Aaron? How's your November going?
A little crazy. It's already. I have 3 kids. Just so everybody can understand what's going on here. So that makes everything 10 times harder. So I've got that going on, but then all the other, Thanksgiving's happening, and I'm trying to finish up licensing and everything for the album. Like today is, hopefully it's the last day I have to deal with it, but before it is going out into the world. But I've just, if anybody's wondering, it should be coming out on January 1st.
What a great start to 2021.
Yeah. It's kind of a New Year's resolution in a way,
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well,
and that's
congratulations.
Why it took me so. Yeah, thank you. That's why it took me so long to get it out. Is like lockdown happened, so 3 kids are at home with me trying to, and trying to get music done, or anything where you have to focus is really hard. So. I guess that means I've stepped it up a little bit because I can be a little bit too laid back sometimes. So I had to work pretty hard to get that actually done this year.
That takes a lot of discipline, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Well, Aaron, let's talk about your history with video games, because of course Zelda is a video game. So
right.
What were some of your first video games, some of your first experiences?
Well, I'm old. So let me see. I think we were visiting a friend's house when I was maybe 6, and they had an NES, and I think that was the only console I knew of at the time. But I think he was playing. I think he was playing Legend of Zelda. I think that was one of the first games I ever saw on the console. That and Mario and Contra. And Duck Hunt, of course. So, and obviously, who wouldn't be obsessed after watching that? And I was the youngest of 3 kids, so I didn't get to play a lot of that when I got to see it. So another problem here is that my parents never let us get a console, so I was always obsessed with every time I went to a friend's house, somebody who had one. I would be just trying to play all I could. But so we went to a few friends' houses that had, all those games. But what we did get instead of a console was, I think it was the original Macintosh, actually. And they're actually really ahead of their time. So there's some pretty good games there. I'm not going to name them all because nobody will know what I'm talking about, but they had good graphics. For a 6 to 8-year-old, it was pretty incredible. But anyway, so that was my first introduction to games that I could actually play independently, without 5 people trying to take turns, at somebody else's house. Let me look at my notes here.
Macintosh that's the one we don't hear very often whenever we ask that question. That's pretty cool. I love it.
It's because my dad was kind of obsessed with technology. So we had a Betamax camcorder. We had the Macintosh, and then we had some. I think I don't know if we actually owned the Laserdisc player, but you don't hear that very often either. Laserdisc. Maybe we just borrowed it or rented it or something. But I remember having a bunch of. So if somebody out there doesn't know, the Laserdisc is kind of like a compact disc, except it's like almost as big as a record. It's huge, but it has all that digital information on there, just like a CD or DVD does.
Wow, we've come such a long way when you
Right.
look back.
Yeah, very quickly too. Yeah, I guess that's it was all the way until I was um, maybe 19 or 20, 21. Maybe I was like 21 before I like bought my own consoles. But in between that time, like I spent a lot of time with people, like even just watching them play um, Zelda games. Like my best friend moved in with me when I and I watched him play hours of Wind Waker, and that got me that kind of rekindled my love for Nintendo. And I mean, I was always like, I never stopped being obsessed with Zelda and Mario, but that kind of got me back into it. And then my wife, all like, it's funny, I never got to play it, but I mean, I did later, but like during that time, I just like watched other people play. Played Wind Waker and Twilight Princess and Skyward Sword, and then Breath of the Wild, and then now I'm finally playing Breath of the Wild. But I did play some Wind Waker and Skyward Sword and some of the originals here and there, but not as much as I would have liked. But throughout that time, just hearing all that music was just like it's just so catchy, and now digging into the music. I kind of have a new appreciation for it because I'm like, oh wow, this is really good, um, writing or whatever. Like I don't know how he came up with so many good songs, but I mean mostly Koji Kondo, but I know there's other composers in there. Um,
Yeah.
Sorry, I interrupted myself. When I was about 21, I finally bought an Xbox, and now my family has a Wii U and a Wii and a GameCube and stuff, and a 3DS.
That is awesome. So, hey, you've caught up. Hey, better late than never, I say. There's nothing wrong with that. And you did mention to me off air, you actually got to live in Japan and
Yeah,
play the arcade games over there. I am
yeah,
very jealous. A lot of people are jealous.
yeah. And that was around the time when that was mostly all there was. I mean, I know that they were kind of developing their system in Japan there, and I don't know if it was released in US yet. Maybe it was. I don't know. But so it was like mainly arcade games for us. I mean, that was around the time that where like you'd go into an arcade and there's like 50 games in there. But uh, uh, this is a little bit off topic, but not, it's still video games. Anyway, I do remember them debuting a game that would become one of my favorite arcade games. I was 5 or 6, I don't remember, but I remember waiting in line for this game. I believe it was Afterburner. I don't know if anybody even knows what that is, but it was an airplane game. I thought it was the coolest thing ever. But this release of it was one of those ones that like had a whole like you climb into the thing. I think you even had to belt yourself in because when you turned the joystick, the whole thing would rock. And
What?
yeah, it was amazing.
That sounds really cool. And what part of Japan were you in?
Well, I don't remember much from the first place, which is Sagamihara, otherwise known as Camp Sama. I don't know how that works, but my dad worked for the Corps of Engineers, so that's why we were there. But the second place we lived was Iwakuni, and the third place was Okinawa, someplace in Okinawa. I don't know the region very well because I was 6, but yeah,
I bet it was so beautiful, though. Just what a great experience.
yeah,
They are very innovative with their arcades because I lived there in 2012 and I really liked the Mario Kart in the arcades. That was
yeah.
really neat.
Yeah, I wish I could have. I wish I could go back. Maybe I
You
will
can.
someday.
Maybe after 2020,
Yeah,
it gets a little better, but I'm sure you'll be able to go back one day and take it all in again.
yeah, I hope so.
But speaking of beautiful scenery, you are really good at capturing beautiful scenery because you're a
Thank you.
photographer.
Thanks.
So what can you tell us about that? Because that's another art form.
Yeah. Well, I've been well. Okay, so as well as music, I've also been interested in other art forms for as long as I can remember. So uh, I was always fascinated with cameras and taking pictures and video and all that. But it take forever for me to actually get a camera. So what happened for how many years ago it was, but I started buying those disposable cameras, which you rarely see anymore. But my purpose there was not just to take pictures, but to convince my parents that they should buy a camera. So I would ride my bike around this, everywhere in Walla Walla here and take pictures of things. And they finally did get me like this point and shoot camera at some point, a really cheap thing anyway. But at some point, I was finally able to get a real camera. Um, and about 8 years ago, I got more serious about it and started actually making money with it. And and now I kind of uh, I would say in a town, but um, that was one of the reasons I started getting burned out a while back, and I decided I needed another income stream, so that's why I started getting back into music. But because I want to focus more on kind of the same interest I share with music, which is like cinematic stuff and video games and cosplay, that kind of stuff. So fancy lighting stuff is what I really love.
So would you?
Like if somebody, want, I sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to ask. So do the technical aspects of photography interest you as well? Like you mentioned lighting, and I know some photographers they're really into the high tech information and jargon in that world.
Hmm. Yeah, I am pretty technical. Wait, I don't know. Photographers and videographers have me come along to light things for them
That's
because I'm
awesome.
I'm I'm yeah, I'm good at that. I just spent like 3 12-hour days on a video shoot here because the guy just wanted to hire me for just doing lighting.
Oh yeah,
That's all I was supposed to be there for.
I saw your pictures. Yes, because you were up very early.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh man, that was pretty crazy. Very exhausting. 3 12-hour days in a row, getting
Ooh.
like 5 or whatever. Um, Sorry, I lost track of where I'm at.
So what I noticed that you have a little bit of a list of what kind of things you take pictures of as so you do a lot of
Mhm.
sci-fi and cinematic and fantasy. Is that more for fun or are there people who who say hey I want a professional to take these pictures of me?
Um, so far, I most of what I've done that way has been paid, thankfully.
That is awesome.
But yeah, most of the personal projects I've done just involve my kids, really. So, speaking of which, I mean, that was my next line item on here was uh, that's one thing that I'm hoping this whole music project will allow me to do is take on more personal projects and do the things I like to do. Um, uh, uh, and there's one personal project I have more in mind than others, and that's one I'm doing with my daughter, where we are writing a story, a whole fantasy story, and I'm doing a three of the pictures on there. I have five pictures kind of taken, and the other two need to be edited. But there's three pictures that can be on my photography Instagram of the project. But so writing the photo series, and I kind of started writing a musical theme to it too, pretending it's like a TV show or something. But
That's
just for
so
fun on the
cool.
music side. Yeah, I think the end goal of the that project, I think I would like to see it in book form, in written form, but um, I have no idea where that's going to end up.
I think
Yeah,
you just have to keep going. And I love that you are combining all these different art forms and all these different passions for that.
yeah,
That
yeah.
is really neat.
And it makes it feel bigger. You know, it's not just pictures. It's not just a story. You get to see the world from the author's point of view instead of, when there's an artist that comes along and does a book cover, you're like, that's not what I imagined that to be. And is that even what the author imagined it to be? I don't know. But in this case, like, if you finally get to read my story, you'll be able to see the pictures as well. Because my daughter is the main character, kind of. So
Oh, what a beautiful way. It's a beautiful item to leave to your child.
yeah, hopefully I can get it done.
Oh, I think you can. I think you
Yeah.
can. There are some people it takes them, a few years to finish a story, but hey, what matters is that it's finished. There's no race to it. You just gotta work it in whenever you can.
Yeah, the problem is that she's grown out of the outfit I made for her to wear.
Oh,
So
yeah, there's that part.
if we take any more pictures, we'll have to make a new one.
Oh gosh, this is true. Why do kids have to grow? Why do they have to grow up?
Yeah,
That I love it. You did send me one of the pictures that you had taken of her, and it was so beautiful. I'm a big fan of Neen Thomas and Amy Brown, the fairy art a lot, those illustrators, and to see that ethereal photography, just it looks so cool. And what beautiful memories you're making with her too.
yeah, yeah. She's always asking when the next photo shoot's gonna be.
Maybe she'll be a model one day, Aaron.
I think she'd probably like that. Yeah. Like, it's not just these photos that she asks about. It's like any photo shoot. When can we just go out and take some pictures? You know.
That is awesome. And you had mentioned to me that what takes up a lot of your time are photo shoots for families, high school senior portraits, business headshots, weddings, real estate, the typical photography stuff, so to
Yeah.
speak.
Well, yeah, I would say a typical small town photographer that can't, afford to really focus on a genre, if you will. Um, so, I mean, and that's kind of my point earlier, was that, getting a second income stream would allow me to kind of focus on a certain type of photography, or at least stop doing some kind of photography. Like, if I never had to shoot another house again, I would be pretty happy. So,
Oh, yeah, all those fun pictures for Zillow and those kind of websites.
yeah, and sometimes it's for sale by owner. They just, I don't know where they do that. Or maybe they do that on Zillow or something. I can't remember.
Maybe. They just
But
post it on social media.
yeah, yeah, I do work with a lot of real estate agents, sometimes too. But yeah, anytime somebody sends me an email, most of the time, I should say, I feel like I can't say no, because it's a small town. There's a lot of photographers here, so yeah.
So how much of your time is dedicated to that each week, you would say?
Well, since lockdown, um, it's actually been very little, which since earlier I said I was getting burned out. I didn't I wasn't too sad about it, except for I want to pay my bills too, but um, it did give me a little bit extra time to work on music, so That's good. Um,
The silver lining.
yeah, but for example, before my youngest son was born, like my business was going up and up and up and up, and I was spending, hours and hours every day just edit, just like nonstop, whether that be videos or photos or whatever the client wanted. Um, but after he was born, I cut back because I knew I couldn't handle all that work because my wife works full time, and so I kind of just I had no choice but to be at home with the kids, and then just kind of schedule my stuff outside of that. So yeah, I kind of got myself into trouble that fall when he was born because I signed a bunch of contracts and said, yes, I will be at your wedding and take video or photo or whatever. And then we found out we were going to have him, and uh, I ended up having very little time to do a mountain of work. So I think that's part of one of the reasons I was kind of getting burned out too, just because dealing with unhappy people and stuff like that just kind of
Oh,
ruins it for you.
gosh, a joyous event should bring out the best in people, but I imagine you've dealt with some negativity, negativity in your years as a
Yeah,
photographer too.
yeah. Well, before that, I had only dealt with one really negative person in like 5 years. So, uh, I mean, and I've heard other photographers talk about it, and like this photographer has had like 3 people this year that like ruined their time, and this other
Wow.
photographer like is talking all the time about this like horrible people they worked with. I'm just like, I don't know, am I just lucky? I don't know, but I worked with some like amazing people, and I think those people kept me going um, uh, through the kind of negative times. But I think I'm ready to. Um, uh, I mean, that's what I love about this music so far. Is like if somebody doesn't like my music, they just go to the next song. You know, they don't go to my page and complain about it. They're like, why'd you have to make this song? Like, no, they don't say a thing. I never hear a negative thing. It's great. I mean, eventually, if I did get more popular, I'd probably get some dumb messages. But I've only had good interactions with. Um, I don't want to call them fans because they're not really fans. They're just people that like have enjoyed my music and want to tell me,
I think that's
things
a
to.
fan. I think that's a
Yeah,
fan.
yeah,
Don't be modest. That's a fan. That's what I think a fan is.
yeah. Okay. Well, if you're out there listening, thank you very much for those positive messages because I greatly appreciate it. And speaking of which, you're one of those people that like left positive feedback on my stuff. So thank you.
Oh gosh. When we get to your Zelda album, oh my goodness. I'm gonna have to tell you that about one of the songs. Oh my goodness. But let's talk about music. So we've talked about video games,
Right.
photography, and now we're gonna talk about is this your number one passion? Is that fair to say?
Yeah. That's interesting that you call it my number one passion because that's the first thing I ever wanted to do. I think besides just the regular kid thing of like I want to be what my dad is.
Oh,
Um, so I think when I was like 5 or so, I started begging my parents to get a piano because I'd be listening to the music that we're listening to in the car. I'd be like, "What is that?" And they'd be like, "Oh, it's a piano. Like I want to play that." And then just bugging my parents over and over again until they found a cheap piano that somebody would deliver. Because my parents are very frugal. They wouldn't have gotten it if it was expensive. So. Um, they got a cheap piano. It turned out to be a pretty nice piano, actually. It was just people just wanted to get rid of it, I guess. But um, and then I got piano lessons. So I actually got the piano when I was 6 and got piano lessons throughout the until I was in like high school, I think. I was never at the level of like I was never uh, ever going to be a classical like pianist or something. Um, I was never that good. I think the way I'd explain it is like I'm not as much of a performer as I think of myself as a composer, because there would be a recital and I'd go up there and my hands would get cold and I would just forget like all of the notes like that I was supposed to play, and muscle memory is gone. It's just like So I I have played on stage since then. Like from when I led some music in church and things like that, almost by myself, which was
Wow.
kind of crazy, like singing and playing at the same time, which was a new adventure.
Lots of
But
gospel
then
or like more
more just kind of like modern music,
Mm-hmm.
um, which is easier to play than some
Oh,
of that stuff you're
yeah.
talking about. But yeah, so I didn't even write that in my notes. But yeah, that's my experience on stage, well, basically in front of people. So when I can hide behind a electric guitar, acoustic guitar, it's easy. If you're just strumming chords, it's easy to be in front of people. You kind of feel like you're protected behind your instrument.
Nobody's gonna come talk
Uh,
to me.
yeah. If I was just standing up there with a microphone, I would. But anyway,
Were you in band in school too? Like the
um,
extracurricular activity?
yeah, in middle school, I was like sixth, seventh grade. I played the saxophone, and I did enjoy that. And I did specifically pick the saxophone because I thought it was cool. But then I, kind of realized that wasn't the instrument for me. Not only because it was falling out of favor in popular music, but because you can only play one note at a time, and I
Mm-hmm.
kind of liked the ability to be able to play an instrument. Um, and at that point, I couldn't really sing and play at the same time in middle school, but I kind of liked the idea of being able to play a whole song by myself, not having to be in a large group of people.
Mm-hmm. Band is it's a great way for kids to develop discipline. In
Yeah,
addition to learning how to play music, you have to practice, you have to work with a team,
right.
you have to learn so much. Music and math, I suppose you could say, are the universal languages.
Yeah.
I don't I don't think they read different notes in other countries.
Yeah.
Maybe?
That's an interesting question. I think most of the world uses the same system, but there's some places where they have um, what do they call them? Like the notes between the notes, like semitones or
Mm-hmm.
something like that. Like in India, like with the even some of the singing, or like I think the sitar even has some notes between our notes, and
Oh.
um, so and then notation. I think there might be some other. I mean, so like with some of those traditional instruments, I bet there's some traditional notation as well. I just don't know.
I don't know. I just know that I played flute and I never could play Flight of the Bumblebee.
Hmm.
It's a little too intense.
Yeah. I did see somebody play Fly of the Bumblebee on the guitar once. And
What?
he was like 90 or 95 or something. So I worked at a music shop in Great Falls, Montana when I was there. And uh, I met a couple famous people, or maybe a few people connected to famous things, whatever. um, but this one guy, I think he was like a long time ago. He played with Willie Nelson, like in like one of the earlier iterations of his band or something.
Wow.
But he, like, even in his 90s, like there's so much live music in Great Falls. Yeah, I heard secondhand that he, like, at one of these places, he like got up on a table and was like reaming on the guitar, like rocking out. But they told me he played Fly the Bumblebee. So when he came into the store, I was like, "So, I heard you could play Fly the Bumblebee," and he was just like, he made it look like he was barely doing anything. He was like, I was like, wow, okay.
On guitar.
On the guitar. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That's I wonder if he has a YouTube channel.
Oh man, I don't know. That was a long time ago, so I don't think he's alive anymore. I think I checked. But he was super fun when he'd come into the store and stuff. I really enjoyed him.
They have so many talented people out there,
Yeah.
and music is a way to discover that. And you had told me that you did have a point where you realized I want to compose music.
Yeah. In high school, I probably thought about it before then, but from what I remember, it was just like I started. Okay, so I had a friend who played the cello. I was like, oh, I'm gonna write you a cello part. I'm gonna. I never ended up doing it because I was all over the place back then. I didn't really have a focus. So, excuse me. Um, so I would be making up something on the piano, and I'd want a cello part. And be like, hey, well, we need to get together and do this. But that requires the dedication of other people too. And I just think neither of us were quite motivated to do that. But I knew I wanted to. So I started looking into how, like, the ranges of the instruments and how you write for them and stuff. But it's only been recently that I actually put that to use. But yeah, I mean, while I was in Great Falls, I actually walked over to the university where there's a music teacher who knew how to do all this stuff, and I asked him if he would tutor me. Um, that ended up not happening for various reasons, but uh, I tried at least. So I was very interested. I think that was around when I was 19 or so.
You won't know until you ask. That's how I
Yeah,
see it.
he was probably a pretty busy guy, so that's probably why.
I know it's hard. Mentoring is it's challenging whenever you take someone under your wing. But it looks like, so fast forward to as you got a little bit older and more responsibilities started getting added to your plate. Were you able to keep up with music?
Um, I tried for a while, and then at some point, we lived in a small apartment with my older two kids, and I I didn't have room for all my stuff, so I sold my keyboard, and I sold I had, I think it was yeah, I think I had two electric guitars at that point, so I sold one of those. Ended up selling a guitar amp because I never played it because the kids would always fight when I turned it on. So uh, you know, um, and then a little later, I sold my other guitar and I kept my acoustic guitar, and I think that was all I had for a while. Uh, but then, as I started to do photography and taking care of the kids and all these things, taking up residence in my brain, it was really stressful. Maybe some people can deal with that, but I need to focus. So I decided I'd take a break from music since it wasn't, really working anyway, just because of how busy we were. And it's not like we had uh, some big room where I could go play. It was just, we had a living room where it's just chaotic. So I decided I'd take a break from music and focus on photography for a while. And that turned out to be a really good decision because when I decided to get back into it in December 2019, I bought this little keyboard, decided I would try some electronic music or something, which I haven't really done as much with. Uh, and that I kind of came into it fresh, in it with a new mindset in a way, kind of more where I would have liked to have been, like 10 years ago or whatever. I don't know what happened in my brain, but um, it works more how I want to with music now. Um,
That's incredible. Like you took a little break, and I think you were able to approach it with a fresh mind, a fresh outlook, right?
yeah, yeah, maybe pursuing photography and videography made me grow some new neural connections. Like
Mm-hmm.
creatively, like able to made me able to see things a little differently or something. If I had to guess, that
Oh.
would be it.
Yeah, like what you're doing with this book with your daughter,
Mm. Oh
as
yeah,
an
and writing.
example.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's sometimes you have to step back, kind of like with any job or passion. I know that's why it's so important to get up from your desk every so often and
Oh yeah.
just get away from a computer. I personally don't like to look at a computer too much after I get
Yeah.
off work because I'm staring at it all day.
Yeah. I mean, even with photography and videography, like it's just like, I want to just not be here. You know,
Bless you for the
you
editing.
yeah.
Oh gosh, when I think of how much work you guys put into to editing photos, especially whenever people have special requests,
Yeah.
I don't know how you don't lose your mind.
Yeah, yeah. It's you edit for like 8 hours or something. It's just like, it's like I never want to do this again. I mean, some people are better at that kind of thing. People that have a mind that you could put to like accounting or something, just
Hmm.
like and not go insane. It's like, wow, yeah, I wish I could do that, but not me.
Yeah, you seem like you like to branch out and have some fun with your
Yeah,
projects.
and be a little bit free, where
Mhm.
like if when I was trying to finish up the album, I was hitting some walls with a couple of the songs, and I was just like frustrated. And I could have put my mind to it and maybe worked it out, but instead, as you saw in real time, instead of working on that, I decided I would play with these new virtual instruments I had and make like some sort of Celtic theme song. Uh, that song I posted on Twitter.
Oh, it's so cool. I loved it.
But
It was neat.
and yeah, thank you. But then like uh, in the midst of this album, my kids are just playing Pokemon nonstop, and as I said, electronic music. Like sometimes I just do something fun, you know, kind of that's kind of refreshing as well. Do something a little different. And I started writing a song for them to enjoy. Like it's kind of Pikachu, based on Pikachu, but I try not to say anything in the song that's like copyrightable. So I'll like pepper in some hints of Pokemon all through it. So if you're a Pokemon fan, hopefully I'll put that out at some point. But
Oh,
like they're so I wrote it with lyrics, and like a driving kind of beat and some electric guitar and some synths, another catchy synth part, and we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I'm pretty excited about that one too.
oh, that's so sweet.
Mhm.
I love that. And
Man, I should have sent you the video too. Uh, as I got a microphone finally, and I was kind of playing with the vocals and trying to, because my voice is out of shape. I'm trying to um, retrain myself. But so my 4-year-old wanted to speak through the microphone. He hadn't gotten to yet, so I put the headphones on him and sat him down there. And I have this video of him because and he knew all the lyrics, like because we had like you know played it or sung it together enough that he knew all the lyrics. So I have this video where he's sitting there and he's like singing the song, and then he gets excited in the chorus, and it's hilarious.
I love seeing kids get excited over that kind of stuff. And music is a really good way to pump somebody up.
Yeah.
And do you sing a lot, Aaron?
Um, I used to. I mean, when I said that I played in church, I used to be like the 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 leader, so to speak. I didn't really like to speak. through the microphone, but I would let somebody else do the speaking, and I would sing. Um, whether that be in the car or at the piano at home, or doing that back then. Like, I don't do that anymore, but um, you know, I've um, I've always been interested in singing.
So, have you recorded any songs for any upcoming albums where you're singing, or you're focusing mostly on the music part?
Um, well, I mean, there's that Pikachu song that I was talking about. And just as a side note, I thought about doing that song because my kids listen to so many of those fan made like Pokemon songs. So I was like, well, I could do one of those, and make it really good. I also, if you've looked at my Spotify or YouTube, you may have seen that I also have done some like covers of pop songs,
Mm-hmm.
instrumental ones. But I've also, um, like, you've heard my album, but some of the people out there haven't heard it yet. But some of that sound that I'm developing on that album with this, some of the cinematic sounds, I kind of was playing around with the other day, and I started working on this cover of a Radiohead song, and I thought it sounded pretty incredible. I mean, I'm not, I'm just saying it had this beautiful sound, and I think a lot of people would enjoy that. But we'll see where that goes. I might do that. I do plan on writing some of my own music as well, because that's another thing that's on my Spotify. There's a few original songs on there as well.
I
Um,
s- so in this year, speaking of pop songs, you covered "Fix." Is that "Fix You" by Coldplay, or is that your original song?
that's "Fix You" by Coldplay.
Okay.
And that was actually the first one I did. I think I actually recorded it in December and didn't know what to do with it. Or maybe I did in January. I think I maybe recorded it in January. I can't remember. But that was the first one I put out there, and I've gotten good feedback on that. But you can kind of tell it's a little bit different sounding than my current. Like, if you listen to that and then you listen to some of the songs on my album, you can tell there's a big difference in the sound, and maybe even some of the sound quality of some of the instruments.
Oh, well, I mean, you have to start somewhere, and that's how, as you mess with things and as you
Hmm.
experiment, that's when you find your footing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it's really bad or anything, because, like, when I heard it the other day, sometimes my kids ask, like, I'll be like, hey, what do you want to listen to in the car? And they'll be like, let's listen to your music, Dad. I'm like, oh,
Oh, that's the
um,
highest praise.
yeah. So, like, I heard a couple of those first songs for the first time in a long time. I was like, oh, I still enjoy hearing this, so it can't be that bad.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And so, of course, I guess it's the big album coming out would be your Legend of Zelda album, right? Would you say
Hmm.
that like your big project?
Yeah, that's as I said, I kind of have to be focused. So, with and then just let myself get a little bit distracted. But I didn't think I could really do all the projects I wanted to do all at once. So I chose to do this because, sorry, um, uh, that's where I'm getting the traction from. Is like, not only do I love the community that I'm getting involved with, like whether it be Twitter or Instagram or
Hmm.
wherever. But these are actually the songs that are working. Like, if you can see the numbers, like on my original music, that's a lot harder to, like, get out there. So I decided to do this first, and then, like, in the future, maybe I'll do like a pop cover album instrumental, and then do like an instrumental originals. But this first, because I'm also it also accelerates my process when I have a framework to work with. Like, I'm like, okay, I'm going to do these songs, um, and then I just have to figure out how I'm going to do them. Whereas when it's original, it's just like, well, I'm going to wait for a song to appear, and I don't know where this is going because I don't know when I'm going to produce 12 or 15 songs of original music. And I do have a lot of those started. Um, but that you kind of have to. The process is different on a cover than it is on originals.
What made you fall in love with the Legend of Zelda series to begin with?
Well, I think like I said, I started like um, experiencing that when I was really young. So part of it is nostalgia that just brings me back to it, And then throughout my life, just here and there, I'd experience it in a different way. Ocarina of Time, like it's just such catchy music. Like there's so much good music in that game. That came out far long time after like my experience with the NES. Um, but yeah, that it's just like periodically, like I would spend some time with people that like had the right system at the right time with the right games, and get it temporarily reignited, and then I'd go get distracted again, and and just keep returning to it over my life, I guess. But I think I had another point to that. Um, yeah, I mean, like I said, fantastic music. Starting with Koji Kondo, but some of the newer games have other composers. Sometimes reiterating some of his music and then writing and then like I don't know who did Breath of the Wild, but that's just so wildly different musically than the other ones. But I mean,
It
I
is.
still appreciate what the music does for the game, because it's kind of like um, environmental in a way. Like you just hear
Hmm.
this or something. It's just like it's not a song. It's like something that like uh, it's like a garnishment, like to the game. But then you run into a Talus or something, and it's like it's obviously a song, but it's just a different approach to it. It's not like Ocarina of
Yeah.
Time. You're here, and then you hear Gerudo Valley play, and then you're over there, and you hear Hyrule Field play. It's a little different.
I like whenever you're riding a horse in Breath of the
Yeah.
Wild.
Uh
I
huh.
That is
Yeah.
such clever music. I
It's
feel
very
like
nice.
I can sense the gallop
Yeah.
in that song. And I looked at the composer. Please forgive me if I mispronounce this gentleman's name. Hajime Wakai?
That sounds pretty close.
I'm so sorry. And Manaka Kataoka Yasuki Iwata. They were also involved.
Okay. I think
Very
I've heard of the name Iwata before on
cool.
Zelda stuff. Yeah.
Oh,
I guess my third point, like why I like Legend of Zelda, is also the story. I think everybody, that's what draws most people in, is the story.
do you have a favorite Zelda game, or are they all your favorite? I
Do
know,
I
pick
have
like
a favorite?
picking your
I don't
favorite
know.
kid.
Yeah, right, right. I don't have a favorite game. No, um, you know, I think um, just because of what Wind Waker is tied to, like my best friend that I was rooming with, just a lot of our interactions with that, and then like my wife playing it, like our interactions over that. I think it's going to be an unpopular choice with some people out there, but as far as their favorite, but like I think I have the most like I don't want to say nostalgia in this time because it wasn't that long ago,
Mhm.
but like the most good feelings about, I guess. Although Ocarina of Time has its own um, feeling as well, but I don't. I just think the graphics improved with the GameCube, and being since I played a lot of PC games, that obviously is going to catch my attention. Um, so a lot of things combined, and just such good music in that game. Like there's so many songs from the game I love, and that was one of the songs I was gonna include on the album, but I just didn't finish it. Was Dragon Roost Island,
Oh,
and yeah, but it
that is
was,
such.
and it's it's a different feel from most of the other part of the album, and a lot because I was kind of using the whole orchestra on that kind of
Mm-hmm.
so it sounded very different than most of the other songs. So I mean, I don't mind not including it there. I think I might put it out as a single later after I finish it. Um, but yeah, just so much good music on there. I
I
mean, just the
love
main
love it.
theme, man, like
Oh my
just so
gosh, when you start that game and
yeah,
that Celtic opening,
yeah.
so
I mean, I
beautiful.
like that. That makes me feel something every time I hear that song. And then there's the YouTuber. I think he's still actually making videos, but it was a long time ago. He made this video when he was like 17 or something. It's called Wind Waker Unplugged. His YouTube name is like Freddy Greddy or something. Freddy Greddy. I don't remember how do you pronounce it, but he's like Swedish or Finnish or something. I don't. But he started with drums, and he played two parts on like a nylon string guitar, and then he played like three different kinds of flutes or something like an Irish flute or tin whistle, whatever you want to call it, penny
Mm-hmm.
whistle, and then like a pan flute and an accordion and a ton of different parts, those split screen things. It's just incredible
Oh,
work. And like, even, some of those covers are really good and everything, but you don't feel the same way. But his version, like, so good.
I
Highly
love
recommend it.
those. Oh my gosh, like a one-man band, but he was
Uh-huh.
able to combine it all
Yeah.
like
I've
that.
always wanted to do one of those.
Do it, Aaron. Come
Yeah.
on. Why are you holding
Well, I mean,
out
yeah, kids throw a spanner in the works there, but I
on
mean,
us?
once my youngest goes to school, maybe I'll think about it again.
How many more years till he has to go to school?
Well, he was in preschool before the lockdown,
Oh, okay. So,
but that was like preschool because he was 3, so it was kind of like yeah, not true preschool, but so I mean, he should be able to go to kindergarten soon-ish, if they actually have kindergarten.
oh man, I don't know how teachers are doing it this year.
I do know a lot of teachers, and it doesn't sound like fun.
My mom taught for 33 years. So
Oh wow,
she loved it though. Some people
yeah,
just love it. And she taught kindergarten and she talks about they still love you. And I will ask her every so often, what do you miss your job? She goes, yeah, I miss the kids. I miss their sweetness.
yeah. My in-laws were both teachers as well, and my father-in-law actually taught high school choir, and he was very good at it, and like so he's just
Oh,
loved all over town. Like people, if they don't know me, then they know him, and it's a good
oh, so
connection.
do y'all connect a lot over music because he's
Um,
in
Not
choir?
as much as you'd think, because they're more like choral and their family kind of is their own music group kind of. So it's
The Partridge
I don't
Family.
yeah I don't just like break into it and like start singing. It's like, oh, they're doing their thing, some song I've never heard before, and they're doing a 4-part harmony, and I don't know what to
Oh
do
my
with that.
gosh.
But I mean, if we worked on a song together, we could do it. But I don't think I was ever as disciplined vocally as they were, because they're more like in that choral, choir scene. Like all those choir kids would, like in not just choir, but in the higher ensembles or whatever you want to
Hmm.
call them. They would do like a lot of vocal exercises and get really good at what they're doing. And I was never at that level. I was just more like, I'm gonna sing some rock songs. And you don't, it's good to do vocal exercises no matter what you do, but you don't have to. You can sound terrible and still make good music sometimes.
I'm
I'm sure Steven Tyler, like with his what do you call it, chain smoker voice, like maybe he does do vocal exercises. I don't know, but I mean, he has an amazing voice, um, but there's a lot of singers that are pretty iconic that don't sound like you'd think they would sound if they like were trying to go for that.
I'm picturing you guys doing a sister act. ensemble.
Yeah,
Turn it a
with
little rock and
choreograph.
roll.
Yeah. Hey, I
That
could pull
would
out
be
the electric
fun.
guitar and do some heavy
I
distortion to that.
I always
I
thought
don't
that was
know if
fun.
they'd be into that though.
Oh, maybe. It's kind of like choir, yeah. You could just say you're
Yeah.
helping. There's a lady in the witness protection program, and you're helping her out.
Yeah. No, I think that would be fun to do that kind of thing. I think we just have we both have to shift our styles of music and combine, and I mean that would be cool. But now we kind of live up a little farther apart, and that would be a little more difficult. Her brother's
Oh,
in Montana, so yeah,
but it's hard being away from family. I mean, my family lives pretty close to me, but sometimes I think, oh, I'd love to leave the state, but I'm
yeah,
sure there are there's no perfect place. Wherever you go, you're gonna find something that irritates you, I guess.
yeah, right, yeah, it's true.
But I want to talk about the process of composing and your upcoming album. So, do you just have an idea for a song, or do you get inspiration from anything? What helps you?
Now, are we talking about cover songs? Like
Oh,
composing cover song?
anything you'd like. Would you like to talk about the original songs first, or would you like to talk about cover songs?
Well, I could kind of compare and contrast, I
Okay,
guess, like
I would
because
like that.
the process of a cover song, doing cover song is different than like just making a song. Um, I mean, sometimes.
Yeah.
So when I'm doing an original song, I'll often just do thing on piano that I was, like I was trying to think of some like different patterns of things to do at some point, and I started doing these interesting things on piano. And I was like, oh, this sounds good. Like I'll just add this choir here and this double bass or something, and I really like the sound of that. And that's, I just kind of go where the wind takes me, when I'm doing that kind of thing. And sometimes you have to think real hard and really dig deep to figure out how to finish that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas with the Legend of Zelda song, I'll listen to it, and if anybody's listening to my music out there, they'll notice maybe you should all pause it and go listen to like Saria song or Song of Storms for specifically, um, because I wouldn't have covered either of those songs as in this as they were in like Ocarina of Time, like really like fast and peppy. That's not really my style. So like I I slowed those down. Like that's kind of what I heard in my head is like, let's try this slow and dramatic. And with Saria's song specifically, a lot of people connect with that one because it's Saria's song, or Lost Woods, however you want to say that one. And but it's like for a lot of people, it feels like nostalgic or sad, or and one of the benefits of um, being on Spotify, for example, is I can go into Spotify for Artists, my Spotify for Artists account, and see. I can't see everything, but like maybe 2/3 of the playlists will come through, and I
Mm-hmm.
can see what playlists they add me to. And like some of these playlists are so specific. Um, no,
Like
I don't
what?
want to. I don't want to. Well, okay, some of them aren't even safe for work, but
Oh my
yeah,
God.
just people say some of the weirdest things. It's really entertaining. So I like almost daily I look through and see what people have added my songs to. But one in particular that caught my attention, and I see it from time to time because I keep listening to like a Surya song. um, I don't want to put the name on there just in case they want their privacy, but I'll just say um, the name in the playlist is Ashley. Let's just say that, and then they'll be.
Ashley.
I'm just going to throw that in there so it's
Hmm.
it's anonymous, right?
Gotcha,
So
gotcha.
okay, so the playlist is would be called with that name replaced.
Gotcha.
It's me and Ashley, but it's not 2018 anymore, and it makes me sad. And
Oh.
it's just like, wow, that's like a whole story. I want to dig into that, like I'm inventing a whole story in my brain. Wow, like there's some like like I want to give these people awards sometimes. But anyway, that kind of gives me feedback. I can kind of see what people are thinking. Um, but so so that's one approach I use sometimes. Like if it's a fast song, I might slow it down, or I might just interpret it a different way. Or for example, some of those like Ocarina of Time or the mobile games or handheld, that's what I should say, handheld games, or some of the ones with more simplistic music. The challenge and the pleasure is to embellish it and transform it into something bigger and greater, grander. Um, so that doesn't really tell you the process. That kind of gives you like the mindset of this is what I can do.
Mm-hmm.
But I might just listen to it and say, this part would be good for piano, and I might change my mind later. But I might just because I'm gonna have to play it, so I have to learn it anyway. Like Great Fairy Fountain, I mean, like have to figure out how to. There's a big stretch in there, so figuring out how to play that, and then deciding later that I want to use a cello with the spiccato, the beep, 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 again, if you listen to my music, you'll know what I'm talking about because Great Fairy Fountain's out there.
I love that
Um,
one. That's such a cool take on it.
yeah, thanks. Like there's 3 different cello articulations in there, I think. There's the spiccato. Well, I kind of used it improperly, but like I tried to use a harp sound for that beginning part of Great Fairy Fountain, but it sounded better with the cello pizzicato. So if you listen to that, you can think about that next time. Then I just have to switch it to spiccato, and then it's like the and then I just use the legato, the regular cello later on in it. So that was kind of fun to try to explore that instrument in that way. And then just use the piano as the embellishment instead of the other way around, because I think most people put the piano as the main part and use some other instrument as the embellishment or whatever. So that I try to make my songs in a way they haven't been made before,
Mm-hmm.
because I've listened to a lot of cover songs, and while I've enjoyed them, like I want to be different. So I'll just try to move things around, and so I mean, learning those parts is the first step, obviously, and then sometimes I'll write things down in a way where I can see the structure of it. Like maybe I'll put the chord progressions in line so I know what I'm doing, like in the grand scheme of things, instead of just like the I don't know, just playing through it, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Then just and especially now over the past year, like doing this, like I can kind of hear like, oh, I think I would like to hear a cello there, or maybe I would like to hear these kind of strings there, or the piano, or um, whatever, or maybe like the nylon string guitar sounds better, or any number of things. Like, I mean, in Kakariko Village is a good example of like, um, you know, really, because I started it completely different. I had to change instruments in and out a bunch of times before I was happy with what was there, and I ended up with, um, some mandolin and some nylon string guitar and even threw in that choir in there.
And
If
that's
you
a
listen to
unique
that,
twist because that it's
yeah,
usually just a like an acoustic guitar
yeah, it's
for
just
that
like
song.
a country folky sounding
Yes.
song. Yeah.
I have to say, when I heard your version of Song of Healing, it just that song just it's sad in the game, but whenever you're playing the game, I think you're also so distracted by your mission. So the songs, oh wow, this is a nice song, but to actually listen to a cover like yours and focus, that's what I'm focusing on is the song. I'm not on a quest. It just what is your I would love to know your interpretation of that song because the Song of Healing is it's melancholic to me, but it's also hopeful in a way. I
I don't know. To me, it
I don't know.
feels kind of like a dark song to me, at least at the beginning. Um, yeah, it does kind of feel more hopeful, like as it goes along, and it
Hmm.
kind of starts to rise, and yeah, it does kind of feel different in that part. There's going to be somebody knocking on my door in a second.
Mr. Famous over
But
here.
yeah, they'll just knock and walk away. They're just going to drop off some eggs for me.
Oh, how nice!
Yeah,
You have a cuckoo dropping
yeah,
off some
right.
eggs.
Yeah, right. No, it's nice. It's one of the perks of living in a small town. I grew up with this guy, and he now delivers food to like restaurants and a bunch of things, and I'm his only egg customer. It's his chickens. He just puts the eggs in the cartons and gives me the eggs. So
Oh well, if you
nice and
need to go
fresh.
get them to up so they can
Oh
refrigerate, you
no,
certainly
Uh,
can.
no, he'll just leave them right there. They'll be safe. Fresh chicken eggs actually last longer than you'd imagine, but
Oh.
um, that's another topic. Um, I could talk about health all day too, but um, yeah, we were talking about Song of Healing. Um, one second. There we go.
Hey,
Um,
sir.
um, yeah. So another thing is like sometimes there'll be a song like that, and so that's one of the songs I stuck pretty close to the piano part. I hear a screaming child. Um, I might have to go back there. Uh, but kept the piano part pretty close to the original, but I added some extra bits to it, like the way I don't know. I'd have to look at it again, but like I actually like I have it written down, but yeah, I try to make it my own. Like I've just heard too many covers where it's like identical to the original version, and I don't feel
Yeah.
good about that. So, I mean, it's okay. I'm not judging anybody. I don't want it to come across that way, but like that's that's not me. Like I want to be as original as possible when possible. Um, so yeah, I try to put my own twist on things, but every once in a while, like I didn't really feel like I wanted to change that song that much. I thought it should be pretty close to the original on that one.
Yeah, it's oh gosh, I just the whole theme of Majora's Mask is summed up in that song. It's so good at tugging at the heartstrings, and I also love Zelda's Lullaby. Just so soothing, so beautiful. I love that one.
Thanks. Yeah, that's one of the ones I was struggling with, um, just to get it the way I wanted. No, I'm sure if somebody heard the old version, they'd be like, "Oh, I love that. That's fine the way it is." But I was struggling with it anyway. But like I didn't do too much music from Majora's Mask, but one of the other ones from Majora's Mask on the album that a few people that's heard it, Oath to Order. Yeah, and one of the things I found myself doing in like the last five songs maybe is like I'll take a break from the song and I'll write like a cello part, you know,
Hmm.
like I just find myself doing that, and I'm like, should I actually be writing a cello part right now? I don't know, but that's kind of like I'll write my own part in there and then go back to the song just to break it up a little bit because Oath to Order is one of those ones that's repetitive. and you kind of have to, you know, make it interesting with. I mean, like, I love it as it is, but if you're gonna listen to the same thing over and over again, you gotta make it interesting. But I think that was the first one that I really just wrote a completely new part for, that wasn't like in the original song.
And that adds so much to it. That part is so strong in the game. And it was really cool to hear your interpretation of it. I think it strengthened it even more.
Yeah, thanks.
Oh gosh, I love Majora's Mask.
Yeah.
I love it. And did one of your kids dress up as Majora?
No. Um, Lincoln's been dressing up as like Breath of the Wild Link. He's saying specifically,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes he'll say Skyward Sword Link. But my daughter has a Princess Zelda dress, and my oldest son has some Link stuff, but he doesn't really fit in it um, completely anymore. But he still has this huge Master Sword and shield out in the
Oh, so
backyard. So
cute. Okay, I think I follow a lot of Zelda people on Twitter, and around Halloween
yeah,
there were all these adorable
yeah,
costumes. I did see that your son he conquered you as a
yeah,
Lionel.
yeah. We just happened to have a lion mask from somewhere. I have no idea where it came from, and so I was a Lionel, and like I'm like the scale of Link to a Lionel. It kind of made sense, So I was like acting like a Lionel, like and let him beat me. I
Well, at
didn't
least
tell him that it's actually a lot harder to beat a Lionel.
well, fortunately he didn't have one of those guardian arrows. You would have been kaput in
Right?
one
Yeah,
one
right.
shot. Have you ever
Yeah.
fired one at a Lionel before?
Yeah, that's the only way to be beaten a Lionel so far. I've like beaten everything else, but not a Lionel.
It's yeah, it's if you don't have patience, I highly just recommend you guys just shoot a guardian arrow. And it's
Yeah.
I think my jaw dropped the first time I used it because I thought that was it.
Yeah,
That's
right.
all it
That's
took.
same thing. Same thing. Yeah. I was disappointed though that I didn't get their items though.
That is the trade-off. You don't get the spoils
Yeah,
from your battle.
I really wanted that bow, especially.
I think you're gonna have to go kill some Lionels this weekend.
Yeah. I tried like 10 times in a row the other day and I was just like, oh my gosh. I just
Do you
let it.
use Urbosa's Fury
I
to help you
haven't
out?
beaten that. I haven't beaten the Divine Beast yet. So I know that
Oh no.
I think that should be my next thing is I just need to make sure all the Divine Beasts are done, and then I'll have those extra weapons in my tools, things in my toolkit, I should say. Like I mean, I could just use Rivali's Gale and go up in the air in slow motion and shoot him with like a whatever
Yeah.
arrow.
I mean, I'll be fair. It's a long, involved game. So
It's huge. Yeah, it's
you
so big.
you really have to have some time. And did you get the DLC pack where you can get the motorcycle and stuff?
I think so. I think my wife bought all the DLCs. I
Okay.
can't remember. Um, I I think maybe she just didn't do that one. I don't know because I never saw her with a motorcycle.
Oh, that's super long. That's a very long
Oh,
side
okay.
quest. So that's
That's why.
in case you thought this was taking you a long time. Here's some more
Yeah.
side quest, and yeah, but it's neat if you can when you find the time to do them. It's it's involved. I have not picked up Age of Calamity yet. Maybe by
Yeah.
the time this airs I will have, but I just feel like I can't keep up.
Right. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. I definitely. I don't have a Switch yet, so I am. There's some games I haven't played yet. Like when I finally get a Switch, probably with music money. Um, I'll probably uh, play Link's Awakening as well. I know that like that's one of those side games that some people are just like, whatever. But I like through like um, uh, covering the Southern Face Shrine and Ballad of the Windfish especially,
Mm-hmm.
like I really want to play the game now. Because I haven't played that. I'm sure I like played a few minutes of the old one, but it's not the same thing. But like hearing people talk about like what it's all about and the story and then playing through the song, I don't know if I said it on Twitter or not, but I said to somebody that my version about the Windfish it might feel too sad. Like maybe it should be called the funeral of the Windfish or something. Uh, but
Oh,
like maybe it's not that sad. Did you get to like listen to that
I
one?
did. It didn't sound very sad to me. I think it's such a
Maybe I was
unique
just
sounding song
yeah.
too. Whenever you hear Marin sing it and then you hear the orchestral version, maybe they're projecting what happens in the game.
Yeah.
Not I
Well,
don't want to
maybe
spoil it.
yeah, maybe in the midst of playing all that music, I was just feeling my own feelings instead of the what actually happened in the game. I don't know.
Oh, okay? Do you know?
Oh yeah,
Okay, I don't want to
I've
spoil it.
I don't know if it was the another Zelda podcast or which maybe I've heard it on a couple different podcasts about, the whole mind-blowing end to it, like it was all a dream. Um, so I do know the secrets, so to speak. Um, but yeah.
Yeah, about Marin. Is that
Just
the
about
secret?
well, oh no, I don't know that secret.
Oh, okay,
Evidently, I
okay.
was thinking more along the lines of just it being like the shared dream or whatever. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Well,
So
I'll
maybe
let
there is
you.
something for me to discover then.
Maybe so. I'll keep my mouth shut so you can go in fresh with
Maybe
it.
that'll make it deeper when I finally discover it.
Yes, and I will say there's a part in there that moved me to write an article about it because it just touched me so much, and it involves a little ghost. So I'll just leave it at that. Just
Okay.
I would love to know your opinion when you get a Switch and you get that game and you get to the ghost because it makes you reflect a lot on life.
Now,
But
now I want to play it even more.
oh, it's cute. I haven't beaten it yet, but I know what happens and all, but you just how sometimes you're at the last dungeon and something and then other things come up in life and you just never get around to beating a
Yeah.
game.
I that's my history with most video games in the past 10 or 15 years, especially with kids. It's just like, you kind of fall out of the rhythm of doing something like that. And so I'm going to try to see it to the end with Breath of the Wild,
I
because
believe in you.
I didn't finish Wind Waker or Skyward Sword, or whatever other games I played. I can't even remember now. My memory's been erased. Uh,
That's
it's the
okay. We
lack of
still appreciate you. Don't
yeah,
worry.
it's the lack of sleep that comes with having kids. Kind of does something to your brain.
Well, here's something else that might be a little challenging. What are some of the challenges of doing cover songs? That's something I'm interested in.
Um, well, I think I would say one of the things is what I said before is just finding a new way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to have an imagination, and you have to sometimes it takes some time to think of the right answer to that question. Um, um, One of the things I wrote down was licensing, because I had some troubles with the album. Like I almost I thought I might have to either ditch or remake completely the Dungeons song I had on there,
Oh my
uh,
God.
because they couldn't find um, like a I'm just going to call it a reference to it, but that's not really what it is. But like a reference to the two songs in it, which the one is from the first Zelda game, and then the second one is from Zelda 2.
Mm-hmm.
So we ended up finding one that were like, well, I might just have to keep it at that song instead of having it in a medley. And then I found the second one for them because they didn't have it in their database. So I found a reference to it. I'm going to call it on another obscure album nobody's ever heard of, and they were able to tie it to that. And then Light Spirit's Message I have on there. But as I was like that version of it, then I realized I can't either, except in this one YouTube video, and they can't license it based on a YouTube video. So we had to license it as Light Spirit's Elegy, which is not the same thing. It's like it starts out identically, but then it goes into Great Fairy Fountain like almost immediately after that first musical phrase or whatever. And it's like, well, that's not at all what I'm doing here. But oh yeah, the challenge is also what I kind of mentioned earlier with making something out of something so short and repetitive. Like one of the candidates for this album was I was gonna make a medley of Bolero of Fire and another song, and I can't remember what it is. But they're focusing around the same chord and doing something similar. I could almost play it at the same time, maybe, which I haven't gotten that far with the song, but the one is da 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 do, and I think
Is that the Shadow or the Spirit? Nocturne of
Spirit.
Shadow or
Yeah,
Requiem of Spirit?
yeah, I think it might be Requiem of Spirit. Yeah, thank you. I knew if I
Okay.
hummed it, somebody would. But then the and it's the same. It's the same chord. It's just like the one's slow and one's fast, and it kind of does different things. But I do plan on mixing those two together. So don't use my idea. Um, but yeah, so I mean that's why I was mixing them together, is because it's a challenge to use some of these short bits of music that were composed with the they had a challenge composing these songs because they only had so much um, like memory and or storage to deal with, limited instruments and all that. So so I mean that's where we get some of these shorter songs from. But so yeah, so I guess those are the main three challenges.
I bet. Oh gosh, when we put licensing on there, I was like, "Ooh boy," because there have been some hot topics regarding Nintendo lately and streamers.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah. I
Yeah,
think
yeah, and I'm not a lawyer, and I'm sure I could see both sides if someone would explain them to me clearly. But it was just funny because in the Boss Rush Games group chat, we have some people who are very into Xbox, very into PlayStation, very into PC, very into Nintendo, and they were talking about today how Xbox and PlayStation, the current systems, they have a stream button. Like and they make it very easy for you to
wow.
stream directly from your system, and you have to be careful apparently with some of Nintendo's games. But that I again, I don't know who they're going to pick on because it's very easy to find let's plays and walkthroughs on YouTube
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
pretty much every Nintendo game you can imagine. So
And you'd think that streaming would drive sales,
yeah, it's
like through advertising.
I mean somebody you're they're still going to get way more money than this streamer, I would imagine.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And there are
Well,
some
and
companies.
it's not Nintendo. Nintendo's not taking any kind of hit from that, as far as I
Mhm.
know. It's just
Yeah.
like the streaming service probably, and if they have anything else going on outside of their streaming that they're making money from. I think isn't it Twitch that pays the people?
I believe so. Oh gosh, we were talking about how there are some people who have been on Twitch for 7+ years, let's say, and they have some songs from their early years that are now causing them to have their channels removed because of licensing.
Oh,
There's just, I don't know. I can't afford the same lawyers as Nintendo, so
right.
I don't even want to imagine. But
Oh, that's a big
that,
hit.
so when you brought up licensing for songs, it just made me think about, especially with Nintendo, they're very protective of their IPs.
That worries me sometimes. It's just like I can't put this out unless it's properly licensed, and then maybe what if I wanted to put one on YouTube without like I better get it licensed properly. Maybe they're just playing back there. I don't know.
We took a second to make sure the kids were not breaking anything.
Yeah.
It happens. I was a child once. I understand. Well, Aaron, what are you mentioned Syria song, you mentioned Ballad of the Windfish, and I'm sure you're proud of all of your songs. But is there one song that was particularly challenging that you're most proud of, or is there a favorite Zelda song that you've done a cover of that you're most proud of, or both? That could be two different songs.
Well, I think Surya Song's up there just because of the way I transformed it into like more classical. Like I feel like it's not. I don't want to say it sounds like, but it's kind of in the almost has the feeling of a song I used to love to play by Eric Satie. It's like called Gymnopedie number whatever. I can't remember what number it is.
Oh, is that song that's used in commercials sometimes?
Probably. I think it's been used in a ton of stuff. Yeah.
It's a famous song, right? It's pretty well known.
Yeah. Yeah. Most people like if you hear it, you'll know it. Like dun 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 do 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 do.
I've heard it many times. It's like dun, 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 dun. It progresses and it's very
It's
soothing.
really slow like that though. It's like
Yeah.
the bottom part is dun 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 dun.
Dun, 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 dun.
But I wasn't like trying to make it sound like that song, but I wanted to have it like feel kind of that same kind of serenity in a way.
I know exactly what song you were talking about. The French composer, right?
I can't remember if he's French or not, but it's Eric Satie, like Satie, I think.
Yes. Okay. When you said the name of the song, okay, 3 piano compositions written by French composer and pianist Eric Satie. Wow. Okay. And it even has lyrics, maybe? Or
It does.
oh, maybe
Here,
I'm reading this
can
wrong.
I pause for a second?
Yes, yes.
I think I might need to take care of
Okay. I will tell
screaming
people the history of this song.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, so you guys have probably heard this song before. It's been used in some different media. It's very ambient. So it looks like the group Blood, Sweat, and Tears has used this under the title Variations on a Theme by Eric Satie on the group's eponymous album released in 1968. The English Australian musical group Sky performed it on their self-titled debut album. I'm trying to see whether I can find information about it used in media or commercials. Oh, okay, gamers. Here's one. The 2006 game Mother 3, which most of you know is sequel to Earthbound, Mother 2. It also features Gymnopedie
Really?
number 1 in its soundtrack as Leader's Gymnopedie. Welcome back, Aaron. Gymnopedie.
That's my yeah.
Désolé.
I don't know how
Désolé.
yeah, I don't remember how I don't know how to properly pronounce French, but I can pretend.
Gymnopedie. Okay, it's
I think it like literally like as far as Latin goes, I think it actually directly translates to naked feet. So like a barefoot dance of some kind.
oh, okay.
I know this because I took botany and like gymno like I know that it means anyway.
That is cool. It's okay. So you're on to something, Aaron. The work's unusual title comes from the French form of gymnopedia, the ancient Greek word for an annual festival where young men
Greek,
dance naked
okay,
or
not
simply
Latin, but Greek.
unarmed. Okay. Okay. I think Satie and his friend maintained that he adopted after reading Gustave Flaubert's novel Salambo, while others see a poem by J.P. Contamine de la Tour. So that's why I thought there were lyrics, because he got inspiration from a poem.
Ah, nice.
So
Yeah, now we're adding history into this. Like this is a pretty uh, diverse topics on this one.
it's okay. You took care of what you needed to at the perfect time. I was able to entertain everybody.
Well, no, I mean that is kind of me in a way, like really like so much like going on in my head. Like that's why I never finished a degree because I was interested in everything, not everything. Well, I mean, there's some things I was very not interested in, but there's just so many things, like I thought I was going to do computer technology, no music and no agriculture, health, nutrition, whatever. Just like, whew,
You're
so I
just the
mean,
master of everything, though.
well, I mean, master of nothing. Yeah, interested in
No.
it, right? Well, I mean, you know what they say, the jack of all trades, master of none. That's what I was kind of going on there, because
Oh.
it does help, like when you're somewhere with people you don't know, you can have conversations about all sorts of things. Um,
A man of culture.
help. Yeah, there we go. I'll take that.
But before I don't want to derail you from what you were what even brought us to the gymnopédie conversation, but the songs that you're most proud of on that album.
Right, right. So I would put Surya Song up there, um, and Song of Storms in the same kind of category, but I feel more strongly about Surya Song, so I'll put that one. As far as the simplistic songs go, I'll put Surya Song up there, but um, um, I'm kind of um, I don't want to say it in too strong of terms. I was going to say I'm kind of in love with Battle of the Windfish, but um, like what I made of that. Like I I'm really happy with that. And that kind of has feelings to go with it. It's not just a pretty song.
Hmm.
Also, on a darker tone, Light Spirit's Message, the song feels. But I was really happy with the beautiful thing I made out of that, but also the kind of string ensemble kind of sound at the end of that. I've never done anything like that before, and I was super happy with that. Like every time I listen to it, like because Lincoln, my youngest, he'll be like,
Hmm.
"Let's listen to Legend of Zelda music in the car." Okay, we'll listen to Legend of Zelda music, and that song will come on and be like, "Wow, I can't believe I have the ability to do that now." Like with technology and the equipment I have now, everything's like wow. Um, so I hope uh, one way you all can hear that when it comes out is either subscribe to me on YouTube or Spotify or something like that. Because you can't really subscribe to me on like Apple, can you? I don't know. I've never used Apple Music, but my music is on like everywhere, so I haven't been able to use all those services.
Where can people find you if they'd like to follow you in the social realm and maybe interact with you?
Okay, I've been spending a lot more time on Twitter lately for reasons that we talked about earlier. Just all uh, I mean, I know there's politics on Twitter too, but I feel more free on Twitter.
Hmm.
Um, like I guess I'm just not part of that political arguing Twitter. I tried to make Twitter more game centric, where like there's more positivity and stuff there. So
Thank you. Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you.
So on Twitter, I'm Aaron M. Grubb. That's Aaron, because everybody misspells Aaron. M. Grubb with 2 B's. Not like the larva with 1 B, but 2 B's. Grubb. And then will this link, the Linktree link, be in the show notes?
Yeah, I can tell Corey when I send
Okay.
him this video, he can hook us up.
Okay.
Mhm.
Otherwise you can just go to Instagram and go to Aaron Grubb Music, and that link is also on my Instagram bio. So that'll make it easy. And then you can follow me on Instagram.
Yeah, all the platforms. I highly
Yeah.
recommend you guys listen to his music. He has some beautiful interpretations of these songs, and so it helped me. So I found out about you because you started interacting with us because of another Zelda podcast. And have you interacted with David a lot? Like with
Yeah. I've tried to, I follow him on Instagram. I think I even added him as a friend on Facebook. But like Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, I've sent him a couple messages. And I see him like my tweets sometimes and stuff.
Yeah, I think he had shared some of your stuff when he was the one maining Twitter, and that's how I found out about you. And I was like, oh my gosh, more Zelda music. I'm all about it.
Yeah. Can't get
Well,
enough.
well, Aaron, is there anything else you'd like to tell listeners?
Man, I've talked so much already. It's I don't know. Just it would help me greatly if you are on Spotify to follow me there. But if you want to send me a message, I mean, I always like answering questions. Like if you I don't know about music or photography. How do I do whatever? I'm happy to answer questions or just talk with people. So yeah, send me a message. Follow
Well,
me.
thank you so much for taking time out of your day and away from your children and your egg delivery to talk with us about video games, music, photography, inspiration, just everything involved with that.
Yeah, thank you. It was great to be on here.
Well, guys, you can find us on Boss Rush Games, wherever you listen to podcasts. You can follow us on Twitter. And until next time, see you later, guys. Bye.